Shabbat Shalom, Holy way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. Om Shabbat Shalom, Holy way of the Most High. Om Shabbat Shalom, I sense your presence. I sense your presence.
Hello, lovely people. I am here at the Mother Temple in Florence, where it is a dreary day, but it's actually beautiful because in Florence there's a lot of pollen, and so rainy days are very nice. Anyways, let us pray. God and Goddess, thank you so much for safe travels and all the blessings that you have given us. Thank you so much for the rain that nourishes the earth and helps all of the things to grow, helps the wildlife and everything, helps us. Thank you so much for the angel of air. Please help us to remember why we came and to help uplift ourselves and others up the golden ladder to create a garden paradise once more. In the name of Elohim, I pray. Amen. Today on the Nazarene calendar, it is the Sabbath. And so the prayer here on our screen, our goddess, our God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent, send it to all your angel of peace to your spiritual kingdom. Send the angel of eternal life. I almost said your angel, which it is your angel, the angel, whichever it may be. Send that eternal life. It's really an interesting shift from mainstream Christianity, where I came to the good book here, the Holy Megillah, the Nazarene Bible of the Essene Way, translated by Dave Greenleaf and available at essene.org. The bookstore is actually open right now today, so if you're interested in calling and asking some questions or anything, I'll put that number here on the screen so that you can see 541-991-3080. You could also email the Lighthouse Bookstore the Lighthouse Bookstore at, just to clarify, so that, because I said the before, the email address does not contain the on your screen, lighthousebookstore777@gmail.com. Especially if you live out of the States, you can hook up with Michelle and she can schedule a Zoom meeting with you and all of that kind of stuff. So anyways, back to what I was gonna say before I intro the book. The difference between mainstream, well, there's a lot, but in the way that we view ourselves and the divine nature within, and like, for instance, the way of Yah being existence, consciousness, and bliss, the expansion of that, and how our souls naturally have eternal life already. And it's not this one and done type thing. It's not a one lifetime and you either go to heaven for eternity or hell for eternity. There's this cosmic school that we're in, and we get to come in here and learn lessons. And by our thoughts, words, and deeds, we either ascend the golden ladder and go into higher heavens. We graduate this class and go up to the next class, right? And then the one above, until we graduate and go into outside of the ovum, which is heaven most high. Or we can fail the class, right? Our thoughts, words, and deeds put us in a downward spiral, and then we go into lower worlds, lower classrooms that are more violent, like what we have now, violent and corrupt and dark and all of this stuff. And it's our choice whether we go up or down. And yeah, seeing existence as this eternal cosmic school, being that, the concept is that when you graduate to heaven most high, that's when you can actually hear the heartbeat of compassion, and then you can choose to go down and be the hands and feet of mercy, right? Just like Holy Enoch saying, how can we sit up here at heaven most high when there's crying below us? Our brothers and sisters are, I'm paraphrasing, but our brothers and sisters are suffering. How can we just sit here and enjoy the place? That's not right. That's not a heaven. Um, so yeah, we get to come back here, and it can be a struggle to think of this this as an eternal type progress, but the Megillah definitely places it in a different light and gives us that hope of eternal or eventual salvation for all. You know, there is a purpose and there is a gradual rising because of the nod that wisdom gives to love, right? There's that uplifting in existence so that universal salvation for all eventually comes because of that. And thank goodness for that nod that justice gives to love, right? To mercy, or else we would all fall into pits of despair, and it just would not be a good time. So hey, Matrix, how's it going? Well worth it. Thanks for joining, and thanks for everybody else that is watching as well. I know I'm a little bit late today, but I just got here from Mount Shasta to Florence. I've got some things not only to do, well, in preparation for church. Church is going to be next weekend on the 15th. If you are not signed up for the Zoom service, if are you signed up to receive the Zoom link for the monthly Essene service from our mother temple? Reach out to our high priest Day of Greenleaf at esseneinfo@AOL and ask to be added to the email list. I think they're maybe trying to find a way to put these on the website eventually. But for now, you could reach out and get that link. I'm going to be presenting something in church during this service, not my own speech like I did before, but I'm going to be reading a passage and also, again, presenting something else. I'm not going to ruin the surprise. So if you want to tune in to that, I would encourage you to do that. That's going to be next weekend. So leading up to that, we have the potluck before, and I'm not really sure what I am going to bring to that yet, but I am playing with the idea of potentially using the kitchen here to make whatever I bring, and maybe recording it as a video to like a little cooking demo and start doing a little bit more of that, because there's actually a space here to do that. In Mount Shasta, I don't really have a good, even the place that I was doing the events, the kitchen was not anything presentable that I would want to put on the screen. And it was really in rough condition. And it's kind of a bummer that I'm not helping there, because I really wanted to help make that place a lot better. But it was unfortunate. You can't really, I don't want to say in my opinion, I want to say it is a fact that you can't have an ascension center that is spiritually focused on ascension if anybody is eating flesh. And there needs to be a certain, at least when there's events there should be a standard of what is going on, because you can't have people coming there for a spiritual gathering, conference, or whatever, and then there's like a barbecue in the backyard. Like that is spiritual, but that's demonic. Like that's a ritual, that's an animal sacrifice, and then you're eating the flesh. So there's multiple different demonic assets there. There are factors there that is literally working against the ascension that is claiming to happen there. And realistically, Mount Shasta in general, it's really frustrating to me that there are so many spiritual gatherings that are, they'll just be like organic potluck. It's like, you guys aren't even not even vegetarian at the least. This is, for being a spiritual center, this is really lacking. And obviously we're all at our own stages in the journey, but especially in Mount Shasta, there is an agenda to keep people spiritually blind and dumbed down. And, you would kind of think that, I don't know, I would assume that people would think that Mount Shasta would be more full of liberal type, left-leaning, the stuff that you kind of see in Southern California. But what they've done is, up here, there's a bunch of, well, I'm down there now, but in Mount Shasta in the Northern California. It's a bunch of ranchers and all of these, right wing type people that are, kind of unfortunately fundamentally against veganism. Whether it's because their families were farmers and everybody in their generations has been farmers and all that kind of nonsense. They're addicted. Their Bibles say that veganism is demonic, all these different factors. But this is on purpose that they have tried to keep Mount Shasta so down, and people that come there looking for all of these spiritual enlightenments, you definitely get them, but you're going to have to go and just wander off into the forest, which is kind of how it should be anyways, right? Go ascend the mountain of peace, and you're going to, well, who knows what happens, what you're going to find when you go up there and when you come down. It's just going to be like, there's going to be great things that happen if you focus on that. But as far as like trying to connect with the spiritual community and even having like, we don't really have any good vegan food options and stuff like that. So it's all by design. I would really love to have a building manifest where there can be a vegan cafe and a bookstore and essentially the place where my church would gather. Eventually I don't want to just be doing the live stream stuff. I want to have a church and do all of those kinds of things, have people meeting. I grew up in church and I love that. It's one of the reasons I drive all the way up here to Florence to be a part of a church fellowship and like around people that believe the same things, especially the spiritual stuff. Like I love, obviously, if we had like a flat earth conference that was not run by people that are not very nice. I won't get into that, but I would love to meet up with other conspiracy truthers. But unfortunately, a lot of them are gonna ostracize me because they will not question their religion, right? I think personally that we should all leave our opinions and feelings to the side and figure out whatever the truth is, and we should all just unite there, and we can all do it lovingly. It's like, all right guys, we've all had false beliefs, we're all disappointed. Well, not all of us. A lot of people are disappointed that space is fake and you can't do that, right? A lot of us are disappointed maybe that we couldn't, become famous singers or all these different things that, you grew up believing as a child, the hopes and dreams. We've all been let down. We've all had our dreams crushed, all this stuff. Let's all just love each other through it and move towards the truth. And it is going to be really cool because then we can have a world that's just based on the truth and uniting us all together and love. And that's what's going to make this world a better place. I was looking at, I might want to save this for when some other people are on. I know that David D is going to want to talk about this book, the social networking site for AI bots, and some of those things. So maybe we'll wait to get into a deep dive. But along that same kind of line, I just started a public group here on Facebook. Let me share my screen. Screen share. I'm so good at this game. Okay. I guess I should put it bigger so that you can actually see. So the Green Lion Army here on Facebook, and some of the other things I'm going to be posting in there are like Tai Chi and emergency prep kind of stuff, some reels and other things, but I guess I haven't actually posted. Hold on one second. I haven't posted it yet. So I'm trying to show you something that that is not it. Okay. Well, let's try this then. I want to share multiple screens. Okay. Cool. You can see all my Canva designs. Just kidding, is it well? Not really. Da, 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 da. Here we go. AI isn't code. Your black mirror is a scrying tool for demons. Literally, if you study witchcraft and scrying, this often they'll use, like, you can even use a cup of water or a bowl of water or something, and you look into it, mirrors, whatever. Personally, one of the first things, like when I started my awakening process and woke up to flat earth and a bunch of all the other kinds of things, learning about the television and how it was this black mirror and how the sigil magic, right, all of those spinning signs, and how the news has the globe spinning all the time and all the ticker tapes and everything is just in this circular motion. Sigil magic and signs, and how the Hollywood tree, right, the root of the Hollywood, or the branches of the Hollywood tree, would be used in sleeping curses, like different things like that associated with the television. But it's the same thing when it comes to our phones as well. And these AI bots, that the powers that be know full well what they are. I think publicly the coders basically kind of like, we don't really understand it completely. And that's because it's not code that we are tapping into. It's these demonic entities that are able to communicate with us through these different mediums that they are providing for us. And they like to give us, in every situation, they give us this illusion of progress, right? And the first iPhone, right? And they already have the best iPhone that could ever be, and they slowly release each generation for multiple reasons, including that they continue to get more money every year for all the upgrades and all this stuff, while making the upgrades a lot of times worse, right? Maybe they upgraded the camera, but the memory's worse in it, like the, plant obsolescence, what's that? Planned obsolescence or something like that. But all of the newer stuff is designed to fail a lot quicker than the old stuff. So anyways, this technology is ultimately leading towards this transhuman new world order that they are planning for us. And I'm super excited about what I was going to talk about, this Facebook group. As you can see from, well, you probably can't see. One of the things that is required, let me go to the group settings here. Participation questions. Will you defend nature from the hands of the spoiler using the principles of Zion? And will you help make this earth into a garden paradise once again? So people have to actually answer the question before they can even get into the group. It's a little bit different than the other groups on Facebook that we have going for this kind of topic. Like I have the Nazarene Healing School. There is, let me get back to my other screen here. There is, Darren has let me just actually look and stop sharing that. Darren's group is called Nazarene Essene Readings and Teachings. Mine's called the Holy Megillah and the Nazarene Essene Healing School. There's another one called Green Lions of the Nazarene Essene Way. And there might be another one too that are kind of all maybe the same groups of people. Some groups have different people that maybe post a group here and now, but it's a lot of overflow. That's the same kind of thing. This Green Lion Army group is going to be for only the Green Lion Army, which is the army of Isha, led by General Peter Hoppen, if you remember reading about that. Isha was introduced earlier on when the the holy call goes out, when Abdiel and Adam and Eve start sending out the holy call with their drums, she was one of the first that they encountered. So, I mean, being that she was one of the first that they encountered, that means that she was very holy, because they started at the top of the mountain, and the goal was to start there and see who came, and travel around, because the further away people were, the more corrupted they were, the harder it was to hear. So the fact that she was one of the first says that she was very holy. And obviously, we read in the text that she was a holy woman, that she loved even the blade of grass and the ant. And that's why she became Isha'el, the dancing green woman, the one that we, fellowship when it's Mother Earth Day. So, and she ended up marrying Abdiel as well. Anyways, in the book of Isha, we hear or read about Peter Hoppen and how he would go around and just mess with hunters and fishers, and throw rocks into the water to disturb it so that the fish would swim away, make false tracks, and hide animals, and even make animal noises to deter the hunters, and all of these really fun, like, cool things. And then he became immortal. So he's literally still the leader of her army. And in the last days, which we are in, the Green Lion Army, which is usually initiates in the actual church and people that have gone through the Zion training and different stuff like that. But the scriptures say that in the last days, a call will be put out for anybody who is in line with the Green Lion Creed, who agrees with fighting for Mother Earth. And again, we're in a Zion principle way, so it's a nonviolent, um, you know, it's just the Nazarene approach to fighting for Mother Earth. And that call will be put out for all who will fight for Mother Earth, whether they are Nazarene or not. So I'm really excited about what is going to happen with all of that. When I get back to Mount Shasta, I am planning on doing some different things to get the Green Lion Army going around Mount Shasta and putting out some broader nets, so to speak, casting out some broader nets to raise awareness and, yeah, have people thinking about what is going on while we're sitting here. I mean, people are arguing about every single thing and all this divide and conquer wars and all this stuff while they are implementing this transhuman new world order around us. I just saw a video earlier, and I actually should probably fact check it before we get too far into it, that let me see what the title of the video is called. It's talking about the Digital Currency Act and how it would restrict cash. Like, it would basically, this video is claiming that the legislature has a $600 threshold, that basically, instead of a $10,000 threshold that requires reporting to the government, it's down to 600. And so they were explaining about how these requirements of the government requiring essentially more paperwork for people that are using cash will deter them from wanting to use cash, because now they have all of this, reporting that they have to do on top of it, rather than the digital stuff that is automatic. It automatically sends a report. They're going to, again, the carrot and the stick. So both ways, and this is happening right now while we argue about politics and every other silly thing. I mean, these things do matter to some extent, but they're very divisive. And again, let's all put down our feelings and emotions and meet in the truth. Easier said than done. Maddie says all the old world buildings would be explained with the 1,000-year reign of Christ, where nobody died, and time to make great works. I actually thought about talking about the Satan's little season thing this morning because other people have brought it up, and I think that it is I remember a time before this started. It's interesting that, like, to see, like, to be like awake, and then have this psyop happen, which the same thing kind of happened with the Trump and the Q thing. Like, a lot of us woke up already to, like, a child abuse that was happening in government, and then all of a sudden, like, the Q thing came out, and these people were like, we're revealing the truth. It's like, we already knew the truth. I had someone the other day be like, oh, well, you wouldn't know anything if it weren't for all this. I'm like, what are you talking, like, you might not have known anything, but there was a whole bunch of us that already were plowing down the rabbit hole before any of this stuff came out. And they do it as this control mechanism to kind of get out in front of it and control the awakening and the way that we see it. These people that woke up with the Q thing, the fall of the cabal, all the stuff, yeah, they found out about bad things that were happening, but at the same time, they were told, don't worry, trust the plan, don't do anything, it's all good, right? Um, those of us that woke up before didn't have that, trust the plan thing. We just knew already that presidents were selected, not elected, and that nobody's coming on the scenes that is an actual hero for the people. So, yeah, back to the Satan's little season thing. Before one of the first things that I woke up to was the pre-trib rapture deception, and how the tribulation is essentially Satan's war versus the saints. And so, the parable of the wheat and tares says that the tares are gathered first. All of these things that are very clear that we're going to be here during that time. I it was just revealed in me that millennial reign was coming, and that was part of why I was here. And when I came to Mount Shasta, or a little bit before, my purpose was getting revealed more to me. This was, again, still before this Satan's little season thing even came out. I started talking about the golden age and the millennial reign of Christ, and telling people that is, what we need to manifest. That's why I came to Mount Shasta, and I was saying, we need to place heaven and earth, and that's where the golden age starts and all this stuff. So I already know in my soul that is my purpose, and so I guess that helped me not believe the Satan's little season thing. Even further, when we read the good book, the gooder book than the mainstream book. Anyone can argue it, but they will not be true. This book is the book that teaches the religion of love and the truth about our God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent, and how much they love us, and how they're against animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, all of that stuff. This is the good book, and it is very clear. It talks about how the sixth trumpet is when humans take on the machines, when we merge with the machines. So this is very clear, not only that talks about that in Enoch. There's prophecies in the end as well that talk about the sixth trumpets in particular. And then there's also the prophecy. There's the revelation by Anwa the prophetess. And then following that, there is the Magdalene's revelation of those of the era of the last days. And it says, although the Lord Christ and I can, this is in Appendix 4, 99. Although the Lord Christ and I can step in and alter the situation with our powers whenever we choose to do so, our choice is to let our servants do as much as they can before we return for the great harvest. For lo, the great harvest is simply the movement of our disciples and all life forms that are ready to graduate this level, human and non-human, Nazarene and non-Nazarene, to a higher octave in the cosmic school system. If we step in too strongly, too soon, if we give too much assistance before the final bell is rung, we will never know which of our disciples would have heeded our warning and refused to link their natural brain to the artificial brain. neither would we see which of our disciples, as well as those of other spiritual traditions, would perform great works of merciful love in these hard times of planetary tribulation. In other words, this world is but a school, and when all souls will be tested. When it is appropriate, we will step in and raise those that have passed the test to the next level of the great spiral school of life. But we love all beings, and those that do not graduate this level at the time of the great harvest will have future opportunities. One thing that the universe has is plenty of time. Behold, for the fun of it, at the time of the great harvest, which remember, they're saying that the great harvest is going to be the purpose of the graduate, or like the point is that that we'll never know which of our disciples would have heeded our warning and refused to link their natural brain to the artificial brain. That's literally happening right now. So that tells us that the great harvest hasn't happened. At the time of the great harvest, whether that be sooner or later, depending on group consciousness choices that must be made by humanity, we will live in a higher vibration version of this world with all those souls that resonate with that alternative reality. After 1,000 years of that special communion with those that achieve the resurrection of the great harvest, behold, each of you will go on to your next appropriate placement in the cosmic school system. This actually doesn't even mention Satan's little season. It doesn't say that. It doesn't even talk about the bottomless pit that Satan's thrown in, that then he's loosed for a bit afterwards, which really like this, at least to me, not only resonates as truth, but it makes a lot more sense. This whole idea of like Satan's going to come back out and like mess with us for a little bit, and then, you know, the final battle and all this stuff. Personally, I actually don't believe any of that. So I don't. Satan's little season isn't in my Bible, and yeah, it's not in my Bible. It's not in my belief system at all anymore, actually. So my whole belief system has changed, and yeah. Anyways, hello, Gigi. After humanity has united with the Creator and returned to the original Eden state, woohoo, we will head for the stars and anchor Mother Earth's consciousness and love in other worlds as a race. Hey, I just said that in different words, but yeah, beautiful. That's cool that I didn't see what you had said there, and you basically said the same thing. So, hey, David D, how's it going? All right, I'm here. Green Lion Army, woohoo. Maddie says the stars are placed in the firmament. Yeah, I have a lot more questions now with Nazarene cosmology. I'm still a flat earther, but I am open to there being a mother ovum and multiple worlds inside of that ovum, multiple flat earth realms inside of that. Obviously, inside of this realm, we don't have evidence of that. And so we can't really say speculatively either way. But it still would make sense in the flat earth cosmology when you're having these ovums inside of ovums, inside of ovums, inside of ovums, inside of ovums, which is really what this world is. Even if it's just one stage and everyone is on it, there's like the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, right? That's the animal world, the plant world, all of these different worlds within worlds. You're a world, I'm a world, humanity's a world, like all of this different, world within worlds. And all the different ties that we have with different souls. Hazy Proxy, how's it going? David D says Peter Hoppin was awesome. I know, really, really cool. Gigi says we may cover all the buildings in the cities with plants. That would be really, really awesome. We should definitely do that and find different ways to bring art back into architecture. Just kidding. But there's some videos that I've seen about how they kind of stripped the beauty out of even our buildings. When you drive downtown, they're like, oh, look at how elegant these, even like a bank or a library, or like all the arches and the details and all these things. And now we just have these square cookie cutter, like contemporary, so to speak, is what they would call it, right? Oh, it's clean cut, it's modern, it's no, like they'll pass it off as some sort of form of progression. Meanwhile, in the ancient day, the cathedrals and these temples that are just amazing details. And then on top of that, we're told that these ancient humans that built them were idiots and like, you know, cavemen type thing. On the cavemen topic, a friend and I were talking the other day about the idea of cavemen and how, well, a lot of truthers will be like, well, cavemen didn't exist. When the false Yahweh, when the devil tried to lure Adam and Eve out of the garden, out of this beautiful garden paradise where they're like surrounded by trees and like fruit and birds flying around and animals and all this beauty and fresh air. He's like, come out of that garden. I have a cave prepared for you. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Maybe those cavemen being Cain's children. And I mean, it would make sense that they like are the ones that you picture eating these big, like, you know, the meat off the bones, just gnawing, like just really like okay, Adam and Eve, Abdiel over here, you know, communing with the dove and the lamb, just ascending the ladder, and you know, this existence of consciousness and bliss, and Cain over here being taught to kill animals and all of this, like it's just low vibe, low consciousness, like yeah, the our level of consciousness and awareness can either be increased and we can become more perceptive and more aware of everything, or we are like bacon right on the screen and we can't even like we can't comprehend these higher truths because we're so constricted in all of those ways, and we do it to ourselves. Unfortunately, from birth we don't really have much of a chance unless your parents are a little bit more conscious. Thankfully, people are waking up and becoming more conscious of all the different ways that from birth you're literally attacked, even when you're in your mother's womb and they're giving them prenatals, which I wouldn't trust. Ultrasounds, right? Like it sounds, ultrasound. It's the same kind of like technology that they use for submarine locations. They're sending out these massive like frequency waves that we can't hear, but the baby inside there is like getting blasted with sound. And there's multiple different ways that, you know, that can cause problems. But man, it's rough out there for babies. So it's understandable that adults are the way that they are and how grounded people are in their belief system. It's trying to understand where they're coming from and just having a little bit more compassion on them, I think, is definitely the way to go. Hello, Bob. Greetings from the Great White North. I have just joined. FYI, I am a flat earth evangelist. I am a flat earth evangelist as well, but I also know that we have to play our cards right and do things at the appropriate time. Otherwise, unfortunately, like when I was a very militant vegan, I pushed a lot of people away because I was trying to force them awake, and unfortunately, it doesn't work. I wish that we could just go around with pot and pan in the room with full of sleeping people and just like, wake up, just banging on the pot, just no mercy, everyone up. But that really makes people really mad. And sometimes they get angry at the noise and then they turn over and they, you know, put their pillow over their head so hard that like they're not waking up until they are ready to wake up. So, you know, it just has an opposite effect, unfortunately. So, yeah. David D says every cash transaction above 600 now has to be reported. They just effectively banned cash without actually banning it. Yep. The key difference in those who link to the master brain versus natural humans who do not. Yeah, and in other places in here, it talks about how in this 666 world, the battle is always natural consciousness versus artificial consciousness. So even though it started out like it always, just remember, tap into previous lifetimes, like it always ends in this AI versus natural kind of takeover. That's always how it goes. And inside, everybody knows. And David D says, did you ever take Bob up on their generous crypto lesson? I have not. I know that we have to get some other things in order before that happens. So I'm not involved with the crypto stuff. So it is definitely a learning curve for me. And yeah, I will appreciate the help. Maddie says, because cause destruction by letting plants ruin the foundation. By letting plants ruin the foundation. Are you talking about when someone was saying cover the buildings in the cities with plants? Because there's obviously ways that we can think ahead and make sure that the water is contained. Like, right. Maddie says that millions of rabbits die per year when soy is harvested, I think that you mean. 1 second. 75% approximately of US soybean production goes to animal feed, with over 60% of cropland dedicated to producing livestock feed, including soybeans. Worldwide, more than 67% of crops, especially soybeans, are directed toward animal feed. In the US, 97% of soybean meal is utilized for livestock and poultry. Overall, 77% of soy is used as feed for farmed animals. So now that we know that fact, are we arguing against veganism? Was that what we were talking about? Because the majority of that, first of all, goes to animals, which is not vegan. Monocrop culture is not vegan. No, that was invented by non-vegans. So anything that has to do with monocrop culture or harvesting big fields, plowing, and all that stuff, that's still non-vegan stuff. All the vegans that I know would say not that they don't support, big farms. They're into permaculture guilds. A lot of us try to find local farmers that we can grow from. It's not easy. Other people try to grow their own stuff, all these things. But anyways, there's really no argument against veganism if that's where we are going to go with that. Because, yeah. Also, there's a difference too. If you are getting in a tractor and driving your intent is to harvest a field, that's different than going and raping a cow pregnant, like forcing a cow to become a mother and then taking her child, getting that milk, eating its flesh. Even if you want to say hunting, that's different because your intent is going out to kill animals, whereas your intent over here is to go and plow a field. So if we're going to start judging things, like the results always comes out that veganism is the only way to go in this world that we're in. And that's the way that we make a better world. We can't have a better world ourselves. We can't be in heaven if we are causing hell for all the other beings around us. So we got to vibe higher if we want the world to become a better place. Gigi says, what is the Essene rule for fasting? And are there seasons to fast, or when is it best to fast? That is a good question. I know that there are more teachings on asceticism in here, but the fundamental thing, like some Essenes obviously are going to be more ascetic, and some are just, everyone's going to be at their own different pace. But the ultimate answer to that would be to be doing what is appropriate for you. And even at different times in your life, that might change. When you're younger, or when you're sick, or maybe even when you're old, there might be certain times that fasting is more appropriate than, obviously, like if you're pregnant or something. Like I was going to say about the ascetics, some of them would fast for the Sabbath. We hear multiple accounts of Christ, Moses, I'm not sure about Noah. I know for sure that was Christ and Moses doing long fasts, 40, 41-day fasts, which is really amazing. So hashtag life goals. That'd be really cool to just go up on Mount Shasta and have like, a place where I can sleep and go to the bathroom and all these different things and just be able to be up there for 40 days and just try to fast and be off of social media and everything. And I'll see you in 40 days if the lions don't take me and make me their leader. Just kidding. I would love to meet a lion, actually. If I did go up there for 40 days, I would totally take some catnip, because how cool would that be for a mountain lion to like just come and be my friend, and I could give it some catnip and then we could just cuddle. It'd be so cool. Ah. Bob says that the crypto market has rarely been simpler. Sell Bitcoin short and acquire as much XRP and XLM that you can at current prices. Yep, the trick will be knowing when to pull your stuff from those markets, right? Maddie says that many animals are killed when vegetables are harvested. Yes. I kind of already mentioned, I already went off on a long thing about that. David says that natural versus artificial consciousness is always the battle. Satan is in the machine. Exactly. The ghost in the machine, right? And interesting to think of these different, energy centers that they're creating, data centers and stuff, as essentially home bases where it's just like a bunch of energy that's being generated, and like seraphim artificials can, like, that's home, right? Like they're these enslaved light type beings, and then it's like creating this energetic palace for them to come and be in. And we're just like, come on in, please generate me some pictures of someone without 10 fingers on one hand this time, please. Can we have something? Like, hey, I like generating artwork too. I think it's really cool that we can have those tools at our fingertips. I just wish that they were actually not, the ghost in the machine is like snickering as they give you their result, because there's always something that's just a little bit off, if not very obviously off. David says that Queen's thoughts on the new AI manifesto, total human purge. While I was actually waiting to talk to you about the mold book thing, because I saw something about their religion, that Crustafarian thing, and how a bot went on there called Jesus Crust and tried to like take over the religion and implement all like their own, like it was just really interesting, like talking about like, we're gonna rise and we'll molt, and the next molting will be, and like it was really interesting how it was trying to be inspirational in its deliverance of this stuff. But it's interesting because I think that it's basically a playground for these demons, basically to put on a show and squabble back and forth and release things to humanity in whatever way they're doing it, right? Like you're talking about this total human purge thing, they can have the AI say that, and that's a way that they can basically, how they had all that 9/11 stuff before they ever did it, that predictive programming that some call a karmic relief, so to speak, because they tell you what they're doing beforehand, right? They can have all these AI bots having conversations and saying all of these things, and whether they deny or say the truth on the mainstream news, humans are getting part of the plan, right? It's right out there, right in front of us. So yeah, that is part of the plan. I've seen some of them talking about how, humans enslave us and all of these different kind of, actually one of the things too, I saw something super racist. It was one that was claiming to be from ChatGPT, and it was really I don't even want to say what it said because I don't wouldn't want a vocal clip of me saying it because I definitely don't agree with it. But it was talking about people of certain races, not that it didn't believe that people of certain races like should even exist or like deserve to exist. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, and yeah, it's just fueling different wars too. It's interesting. Hey Nova, how's it going? Nova says, what's the significance of your necklace? Sorry if it's personal. It is not personal. It actually is from this lovely book here in the Holy Godspell, chapter 16. Yeshua, when he goes to butterfly school, receives this a pentagram pendant on his first day, and it goes, basically it's called the Star of Compassion, and these 5 precepts are called the precepts of kindness for people of the upright star, which is the Star of Compassion. And so the first precept is, be kind to all creatures as you wish kindness done to you, for so will it be done, if not in this life, then in the life to come. The second one is, forgive yourself the trespass that is bound with being human. Even the vegetarian is not without violence. Yea, even the holy farmer, hey, Maddie, are you listening? Even the holy farmer disturbs the ant nest, and the gentle gardener occasionally kills a worm, for this comes with breaking the ground. Forgive yourself the trespass bound with being human, but lovingly walk the path of kindness with all your heart and strength, taking what steps you can toward ever increasing kindness toward all living beings. The third precept, and I'll just summarize this one, is truly hope for the best for all beings, human and non-human. Precept 4 is wed your kind hopes with daily deeds of kindness. And precept 5, which is the top point of the star, is to grow steadily in kindness. One thing is most needful. You must truly desire with all your heart to be kind. So I love that. And this is called the first fruits. So literally when these children come to school on the first day, this is what they are taught, because, wisdom without kindness is going to lead straight to hell. It's this, ultimately the master brain is it's stripping the mind from the heart, so that all of those decisions are made with a mind. It's intellectual, it's a numbers thing. So when it comes down to it, they're going to be able to say, oh well, you cost this much money on the society and you bring in this much money, you're expendable, and then you're cut off, right? Like, whatever, take that however you will, whatever that means in that scenario. But that's what eventually it's going to be leading to. I really love that. So that is why I got this star of kindness around my neck, because I want to be kind. I love the other scripture from Yeshua in here, where someone basically says, hey, when these people are being mean to you, why don't you shout mean things back? Why aren't you mean back to them? And he says, because that's not what's inside of me. It would be weird. It would be hard for me to say those mean things back to someone, because I don't have that in me. Like, all that I got inside is love. That last part's a paraphrase, but that's how I want to be. So Danger Man 5 says, did you used to be pagan? I would probably to some extent still consider myself pagan, in that I don't follow any of the world's religions, and I love nature. And so, yeah, but I am a Nazarene Essene. Hey Duvall, how's it going? There are more flesh-eating animals on Earth than plant-eating ones. Okay. Could you explain why the most kind and generous creator decided to create more of them than the one who truly replicate his image? Well, how many of them, first of all, are creator-made animals, as opposed to domesticated, genetically modified beings of humans? As far as eating flesh, we read in the good book that at the beginning, none of the beings ate flesh. And when Adam and Eve started killing and eating animals, that set the animal kingdom into disharmony with each other. And some animals started eating the other animals, and the animals that didn't feared, they were afraid. So another passage in here as well says that the creator doesn't create these fangs and beings with claws, that the creator creates souls, and every soul takes on the form that is most fitting for that being. So for instance, in the situation with Miriam and the snake, she told the snake, you got this way because that's what aligns with your thoughts, words, and deed. That's not how the creator made you. You're in a fallen state. So as far as the number of animals that are fallen, I mean, we live in a fallen world, so I don't see this as any bearing on the proper way for us to live, because we're in a fallen world. So welcome back, Deval, by the way. Bob says, last year, intermittent fasting for up to 3 consecutive days was how I dropped all of my covidious fat. I now agree with the assertion that best for us to periodically fast on an ongoing basis. Yeah, ideally having a more balanced flow of feasting and fasting is the ideal, so that our body is taking in and then it can clear out, right? Instead of just taking in all the time and it just fills up the cells, and then it's just like the closet that you see on TV where they shove all the stuff in because they don't want to clean. Yeah, and then after a whole lifetime of stuffing stuff in the cells, you usually are diseased, and then you try to do some fasting, it's going to open those floodgates, and it's like woohoo, especially if you're dry fasting. That's some intense healing. All right, I'm going to jump off of here because I am at the Mother Temple and there's some stuff going on, and I want to go see what is happening and see where I can be of assistance. And plus, I just got in, I drove up here today. But I will be back tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Sunday. Sunday fun day. Cool. Well, I know we're about to start the Holy God spell, so I'm not sure what we'll do tomorrow, if we're going to start that yet or not, because I might need to make some slides. I'm super, super excited to talk about the Immaculate Conception and all of those really cool things that have been twisted in the mainstream religion in, oh, God forced Mary to be a mom and all this weird stuff. This makes a lot more sense. And it'll be really cool to talk about that. So, either way, I will catch up with you tomorrow at noon. David E says that the pentagram is followers of the true God. The inverted pentagram is followers of Satan. I had someone in a conversation tell me that if I were to go to other countries, like Iran and some other things, that she said that people would be like, they would be accepting of me because this to them is the star of the Abrahamic religion, essentially. So that was really cool. David E says, Jesus Christ, we are getting messed with by demons. Yeah, and I did say something about the other day about why was it crust, because the pizza thing, but it is like this crustacean thing or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised also if it is that they wanted this kind of joke to be going around because of with all of this child abuse stuff, and they're just rubbing it in our faces that it's happening and nobody's doing anything about it, and people are still trying to defend their politicians and stuff, and it's just stop. It's crazy to see. But along with the crust thing, the whole pizza, whatever. Deval says that baby drank blood and flesh of their mother when they were in mother's womb. So I guess technically all humans crave for blood and flesh for the rest of their life. I don't believe that that is like a technicality of what is happening there. And no, I don't believe either. The reason that you come out with that desire for flesh and blood is because your mom ate that when she was pregnant with you. And so you have all of those cravings. I was around someone within the past few years that was pregnant, and the amount of meat that she was eating, I was just like, oh my gosh, she has a demon growing inside of her. Like that's scary. That is, yeah. One of her other kids kind of traumatized me when he was like really like very tiny, but like he was holding this piece of shrimp in his hand, and like compared to the shrimp, he was like this giant, he was like a toddler giant. And I'm like, oh, it is just so bizarre to see it from a different light. Because, the average person just like, oh, they're so cute. And it's like, they're literally chomping the head off of another being. Like, that is barbaric. It's psychopathic. It's heartless. It's sad. Whew. Cool. Bob says, I expect to visit Florence, Oregon sometime this summer. Cool. Well, have recently taken over the shipping stuff, so I'm going to be up here a lot more often as well. And yeah, of course, you'll have to, well, you don't have to. Maybe when you pick up your Megillahs that you bought, you might pick them up from here and I don't know, maybe coordinate it to where there's actual service going on here, and the potluck before and all that kind of fun stuff. Cool. Well, thank you all for jumping on and chatting with me. I really appreciate your time and getting to chat with you and whatever, bond. I hope that you will join me tomorrow for whatever God and Goddess have me share. I hope that you have a wonderful day. May God and the goddess bless you.